oxymoron, but when you listen to this book, you realize that there are levels of Sopranos obsessiveness. The trivia I so proudly identified during rewatches, look, there's Joseph Ganascoli, who will later play Vito Spatafor as a civilian schmo day player in Season 1, are nothing compared to the details that Sepinwall and Seitz have mined here. Speaking of our guides, while I have a vivid memory of my first Sopranos encounter, I am less clear when I started to read Alan and Matt's work, but I know it goes back more than a decade. It was probably through their excellent commentary on and recaps of The Wire, but I have continued reading them because of their intelligent overall enthusiasm for television. I love television. I have always loved television. Even as a child, I knew there was something fundamentally wrong with the snobby woman on the Dick Van Dyke Show who, upon meeting Rob Petrie, trilled, "Oh, I don't own a television machine." The number of good television critics in place when The Sopranos first aired is a testimony to newspapers, which I also love. But I think Alan and Matt are particularly exceptional in their approach to this groundbreaking show. It's hard to imagine that anyone has thought this long and hard about these episodes, unless it's David Chase, his writers, and the late James Gandolfini. A burning question hangs over this enterprise. What about that finale? I don't want to give anything away, but I will say that the Sopranos Sessions provided me with, oh, dreaded word, closure. I watched Made in America alone, my husband thousands of miles away in South Africa, filming an HBO miniseries. Please note the motif of HBO taking my husband away when I need him most. When the screen went black and the sound cut out, I was convinced there had been an outage. In May 1988, there was a power failure in Baltimore just before the Seinfeld finale that knocked out cable to thousands, so perhaps I was oversensitive to the likelihood of it recurring. Once I realized the dead screen was intentional, I felt, well, mocked. I had logged serious time with The Sopranos. I had even attended the premiere for Season 4's first 2 episodes, memorable because I sat in front of William Styron, who laughed heartily at the scene in which Adriana vomited so violently that her poodle ran for cover. I wasn't some bloodthirsty mook cheering for more whackage. I was a serious, thoughtful fan who could recognize William Styron at Radio City Music Hall. I wanted and deserved a great ending, like the montage to Through and Through in Funhouse, the Season 2 finale. By then I'd written 7 books and a series of crime novels about a Baltimore PI, and I believed that if I ever chose to end my series, I would do it with a grand, reader-rewarding flourish. My feelings about The Sopranos finale joined a list of passionate grudges that includes the '69 Super Bowl, the '69 World Series, and the HBO executives who scheduled production of my husband's latest show to coincide with my book tour. In all seriousness, this book helped me to heal. I now understand that Chase was in a dilemma not unlike L. Frank Baum, who wanted to stop writing about Oz, the original Oz, not the HBO one, but faced an insatiable appetite from young readers. At one point, Baum went so far as to make Oz invisible to the world and had Dorothy Gale, now a permanent resident, send a note. "You will hear nothing more about Oz because we are now cut off forever from the world." It didn't work. Baum would write 8 more Oz books, and other writers continued the series long after his death. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Sound familiar? How does one resolve the problematic story of Tony Soprano, a monster that millions welcomed into their homes for 8 years? It wasn't Chase who made a fool of me, but Tony, who had done the same thing to Dr. Melfi. But unlike Dr. Melfi, I was never going to have the resolve and discipline to turn my back on him. The scene in Holston's, which had felt like such a fuck you at the time, now seems like one of the more definitive endings in the history of television. The Sopranos deserved no less. It also deserves no less than this thoughtful, engrossing compendium of recaps, facts, trivia, and analysis. When I heard that Alan and Matt were working on this book, I jokingly made one request. Would you please explain the thematic significance of the 3 bells, the 1950s song used in back-to-back episodes in Season 6? They did, and with more detail than I ever anticipated. The classic